Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hi, I'm Shameika Rhymes, and welcome to Soulibration. I am super excited that you guys are checking in, but let me know where you're watching from. I always love to know where you're catching the show from, and let me know how you're doing, how your week has been. I know this is a short work week, so I'm sure you had a little bit of time to relax over the weekend. And remember to share this with your network. And if you have any questions during the show, make sure you drop it in the chat and we will get to it. So I know you're like, what is tonight's show about? Because yeah, that the flyer for it or thumbnail was kind of very out there, right? So in this episode, we're going to be taking a look into the world of body hair removal. We're going to take a look at the pros and cons of two popular methods, and some of you may be familiar with it, and some of you may not be. We're going to be looking at sugaring and waxing, and both are effective. But the question remains: which one works best for our skin? Black skin, that is. Have you tried either of these methods or both? And let me know in the chat like which one worked best for you and or which one you're open to trying, or if you're just like none of it's for me, leave me alone. But this isn't just for women. Men can do both as well. So I'm talking to you, so make sure you drop the questions in the chat as well. So tonight I have two expert estheticians. We're going to break down the differences between sugaring and waxing. We're going to talk about skin sensitivities, hair types, and the unique needs of melanin-rich skin. So make sure you stay tuned and locked in to hear about the benefits, the potential drawbacks, and which method may be the best one for you and your skin. So, we're even going to get into the ingrown hairs, all of it. So you don't want to go anywhere. So let me introduce you to my guest. Hadia Dashe goes by Fairy Glow Mother. She is a licensed esthetician of 7 years, and she's the owner of Glowdega, a lifestyle bodega based in Oakland, and she specializes in acne, hyperpigmentation, and hair removal via waxing and sugaring. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
And my second guest is Mahalia Wells. She's a second generation master esthetician from Tacoma, Washington. We got the West Coast in the building today, right?
Oh.
Right? I feel like West Side.
Hi, Mahalia.
She has been in the beauty industry for 15 years. Welcome.
Hey.
I see you have Charlotte, North Carolina checking in, catching the show tonight. Welcome, Charlotte. That's where I am. So, hometown folks. All right. So we're gonna, this is our version of a versus, right? Sugaring versus waxing. So y'all gotta defend y'all stance. Like, let us know which one is the best option. Okay. So let's see. So we're gonna start with sugaring, Hadia. Can you explain exactly what sugaring is? Because I think that's where that term throws people off. Like they think sugar, and you put sugar where?
Yeah. So sugaring is, it could be a little bit debated, but it may be the oldest form of hair removal. So if we look at it from a anthropological standpoint, we know that older civilizations did remove hair. Sometimes they would use like flint rock, and that would be like shaving, or what shaving is today. But also sugaring is a known and documented process of hair removal, primarily originated out of East Africa. It's documented within the Egyptian society, but also it's a big part of Indian society as well. And so it is, the sugar paste that I use today probably is marginally different from what it would have been back there. So sugar, water, lemon, those are the ingredients. That is it. It's kind of cooked into, it turns into like this molasses type of form or consistency, and that's it. So the hair removal process with sugaring is slightly different from a traditional waxing. And I know Mahalia will probably talk to you about the difference between hard wax versus soft wax. The method of application and removal is slightly different. Both of these substances, both sugar and wax, very sticky, going to stick to the hair, going to remove the hair from your body. Either way, it's going to hurt. I tell all of my clients that. A lot of clients think that sugaring hurts less than waxing. Either way, it's going to feel the same, especially if you've never been waxed before, or if you are one of the person who's like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, let me get my little wax, my annual waxing. Either way, it's going to hurt. Okay. It's not going to be very different for you either way. But sugar is a little bit better if you are more sensitive skin. And I know we are talking about black skin and those of us with a little bit more melanin, but I will also note sugar is extremely more beneficial if you are a redhead as well. And we can get into that a little bit
Okay.
later.
Okay. And I will co-sign, yes, it hurts. Sugaring and waxing hurts. Okay, Mahalia, your turn.
Okay, so I do both waxing as well as laser hair removal.
Okay,
You
we're
can
gonna throw
wash.
that in the mix. I want to talk
Yes.
about that too.
So
Okay.
what I have found is that I prefer hard waxing for almost everything. Soft wax, I feel like it grabs the skin a little bit too closely sometimes.
Mhm.
And in more sensitive areas, especially for thicker women in your bikini line, you tend to sheet, which is the skin lifting. And once you sheet in that area, you tend to be prone to sheeting forever. So I do prefer hard wax. It kind of grabs the hair, you rip and you remove. Now it does take a balancing act. Like Hadia said, the molasses kind of honey type you want. Also, always be careful because it can get hot. Not
Mhm.
all wax pots are created equal. Not all waxes are created equal. Things as far as color, dye,
Mhm.
fragrance, all of those things can contribute to the wax you'll get. But you're all estheticians have ended up in a situation where you run out of the wax you want, something's out of stock, your pot's not working, or sometimes you have a day where you're just dropping things. I literally started wearing scrubs again because I was tired of wax sticking to my shirt. Once it's waxed, it's not skin, it's not coming off of the shirt. So um, and then with laser hair removal, which is something I do out of the Medi Spa I work in now,
Mhm.
you have to your hair has to be melanin rich. So laser hair removal isn't the best option for blondes because it's not going to see that. On the
Okay.
flip side of that, when it comes to darker skin, black people, the melanin between the hair and the skin, the laser can sometimes get confused. So you have to go low and slow.
Mm.
So it
Okay.
makes sure so you make sure it picks up the hair and zaps that and not the body. So
Oh
yeah.
Lord, you done scared me.
I love it. If you find somebody who knows what they're doing and is prioritizing your skin health, you're good to go.
Okay, all right. I just want to acknowledge we got a couple other people checking in from Gastonia, North Carolina, Orlando, Florida. I see y'all. Someone is wanting to know, is sugaring just a sweet wax?
Um, okay, I'm seeing that question, Lynette. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah.
That is a great question, and I get why you would ask that. Either way, you don't want to eat either of these things. Not hard wax, not soft wax, not sugar. Um, you could, and I do know some estheticians who kind of promote it or market sugaring that way. Like it's so safe you can eat it, like in theory, but in practice, no, you don't want to. So it's not really like a sweet wax, and it really doesn't even hold, even though it is mainly sugar, it
Mhm.
doesn't really hold like a sweet scent. It's not very heavily fragranced or anything like that. It's kind of very neutral.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
Mahalia, your question. You're up next. So you kind of mentioned about the lasering, and now I'm curious between the lasering and the waxing.
Yes.
So how would it address like those common spots? Like once you know how some people if you wax like say their arm hair under their arms, now you're left with dark spots.
Mhm.
Does either like will that if you're waxing will it help that? Because I know when you're shaving,
Mhm.
your underarms you're still left with some dark spots, or maybe I don't know about on your legs, but
All of
you
my
could.
clients, no bragging, all of my clients report less of that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I do think a big difference is the aftercare. The pre and the post care is
Okay.
something that is widely missing. A lot of people don't know you want to wait 24 to 48 hours to be intimate, to submerge yourself in a pool, to be in hot water. You want to exfoliate the day before you have a hair removal method and things like that.
Hmm.
And when it comes to ethnic hair that is more curly, we are going to be a little bit more prone,
Hmm.
but that is an indication. It's not a guarantee that that will happen. Sometimes you have to find the right pre and post care products for you.
Hmm.
So if you're doing that, I think you'll be fine. But it's all about the education. You want to treat every person that comes in like this is their very first time being waxed. Everything they learn is from you that day. So I think with proper education, somebody can benefit from all of these methods one way or another.
Okay. I think that sometimes men don't realize they can also get sugared and waxed too. I've seen the menus at different places that also cater to the men, whether it's, their back hair or, I've seen like even around here, like the neck, maybe parts of their beard or something. So how often have you experienced working with men, sugaring men? Idea.
Yeah, so I will say I don't see a lot of clients who identify as male.
Okay.
I do have clients who have male genitalia, but they may
Mhm.
not identify as male.
Okay.
And so that, as an esthetician, that is a huge difference
Mhm.
within our community. So there are a lot of estheticians across the U.S. that literally will not service anyone with male, like anyone who identifies as male or anyone with a penis. A big reason for that you would hear is that we're not trained on male genitalia. And I'm licensed in California. I could say it's very much true. They don't teach us that way. We don't get a
Mhm.
lot of male volunteers. Like when you're going through aesthetic school, it is some additional training outside of that. But the other side of it is that unfortunately, men do not give themselves the best reputation within our industry. And so as a result, like a lot of women just refuse to do it. That's actually illegal in California. So if I was to be that way, I would have to like not service anybody for intimate services.
Mhm.
Um, that being said, it can be a little bit more tricky because for us, if we lay down on the table, butterfly, fat ma, all out in the
Mhm.
open,
Mhm.
it's really easy to get some things
Right.
taut and tight and nice and the way you're supposed to get it to sugar or wax. But sometimes men have a lot of extra folds, or people
Mhm.
with penises have more folds than people with vaginas. Believe it or not, balls can be very wrinkly if we're going to be very frank. So it can be a little bit more challenging in the genital area. But for the rest of the body, and particularly like if I'm going to sugar a Black man, let's say his chest or back or something, and the hair is
Mhm.
just a bit more coarse,
Right.
sugaring tends to work great for that area. And it gives them a lot less discomfort than with waxing. I have people who I've done both on, and like after that initial sugaring session, they're like, okay, it was a little pinchier than I thought it was going to be. But as they
Mhm.
come back, they're like, no, I think I prefer the sugaring over the wax 100%.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
um, it has its pros and cons for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, for sugaring men, if it's any type of body hair, generally, I find them to be a little less jumpy as a
Mhm.
client if I'm sugaring them. If it's the genital area, honestly, they might be more jumpy than a woman
Yeah.
is. So that's that.
Okay. Mahalia,
Always.
how about you? Do you get a lot of men wanting, different parts of their body waxed and do they say it hurts?
I, I will say most of my male laser hair removal is above the waist.
Okay.
I do service trans women
Mhm.
if they, upon request. What I have found is boys do cry. Um, they are a little bit more sensitive for
Mhm.
all aesthetic services. So, they don't grow up tweezing their eyebrows and, those things signal that they are a man. So
Right.
you put that wax on their chest, watch it cave.
Okay. So, Hadia, I know that my esthetician has said before, like, okay, maybe 7 days or however long before you come back, this is what you need to do before you come back for your next sugaring. What advice do you give to your clients for what they could do before they come to you just to prep the skin?
Yeah, so for me, my biggest prep, which it doesn't just happen just right before the appointment, but
Mhm.
they should be doing it from the moment they leave till when they come back to see
Right.
me again, is actually hydrating the area. And
Mhm.
I know if most of my clients look like me, we were raised in a household where you don't put nothing down there, don't
Mhm.
put no fragrance down there, you don't do nothing, you don't put nothing down there. But the problem with doing that is that your hair is extremely dry and brittle. And you might be listening to me and you like, what does that matter? It's just going to get removed anyway. Well, the more dry and brittle the hair is, the more the hair is going to actually break instead of pulling that hair out of the follicle. So it may break at the surface instead of being pulled out of the follicle. So the way that I have my clients hydrate is by using aloe vera gel. Unless they have an aloe allergy. I have all my clients use aloe vera gel because it's perfect for keeping the area hydrated. It makes sure that the hairs are not brittle when I go to sugar or wax. Like Mahalia, I only use hard wax for my intimate services. Either way, I'm going to pull that hair out of the follicle. I'm not going to get a lot of breakage. I'm not going to have to go over and tweeze. So if anyone watching this and they're like, oh, like I don't mind getting waxed, but every time that little tweezing after, it just kills me. Usually it's because the hair in that area just was not hydrated enough. And so that is what causes me to have to go back and tweeze over. Now, some of my clients, for me, the aloe vera gel is just enough, but some clients do also do a really thin layer of like a body butter or something like that. Again, fragrance free in the genital region. That works too, but really it's the aloe vera gel and keeping the hair and the skin in that area hydrated that is most effective. For exfoliation, I do like a manual exfoliation method for my clients. So I actually recommend most of them to use an ayate cloth, which is like agave fiber. And to me, it feels like very abrasive. Like I don't think I want to use it all over my body every single day.
Right.
If I could do that once a week, like literally, I could have showered that morning and I could go home at night and use an ayate cloth. There will be slit in my tub. Like it is going to definitely exfoliate your body, but for that area, just a nice ayate mitt or cloth just in the genital region is really perfect, especially if your hair is more coarse and curly, because ingrown hair isn't like just growing beneath the skin. It can do that if your skin is very dry and it gets trapped. But ingrown hair usually comes out, breaks the surface of the skin, and then goes back in. So exfoliating prevents it from like going back into the skin. So I actually prefer that because a client can do that every day. Now, a chemical exfoliant, something like a PFB Vanish, or I have a product that I'm working on that I've yet to release. I know my clients are so upset about it because I let them do it forever and I still haven't put it out. But if you're going to do a chemical exfoliant, I actually want them to do it like 2 to 3 times a week, because if you do it too much, then that also dries the area out and it can cause more ingrowns. So for me, hydration is definitely key. That's the most important, and a little manual exfoliation right before.
Okay. And guys, don't forget to drop your questions in the chat because they're here to answer everything. Mahalia, how about you? What advice do you give your clients or anybody that's wanting to go get waxed? What should they do before they come to see you or someone that's gonna be their waxing service? Bless you.
Well, first things first, if you are waxing, I highly recommend be prepared to come back in 3 weeks when you initially start waxing.
Okay.
Usually you're going to come back 4 to 5 weeks, but at first you want to come every 3 weeks for probably 3 appointments so we can catch all of your hair at that beginning cycle. So we can wax it, get it gone, few weeks, those hairs that weren't available yet, next round of hairs. That way you are getting into a rhythm, because the only way to cut down on pain is to be regular. And 4 to 5 weeks is usually too long initially. Your hair is not trained to stay away. So you want to prepare to come back. And then everything Hadia said, as far as the exfoliation and the hydration, especially with those more chemical methods that she discussed with the PFB, those tend to dry the skin out. And if it's dry, you tend to see like that discoloration coming back, the ingrowns, and all of those set of challenges that come along with those things. So I would say be prepared to come back, cleanse, exfoliate, hydrate, for sure.
Okay, I want to double back on the ingrown hairs, because once upon a time, my esthetician was telling me this story, but they had an esthetician she was doing sugaring on clients, and her coworkers and ended up, I guess she was ripping the hair out the wrong way, the opposite direction. So everybody that she had sugared or even waxed, maybe she may have done both, they all ended up with like cystic type of like, I guess I don't know if it's cystic acne or what it would be called, but or folliculitis, or if it, and then there was a lot of ingrowns. So can you talk about that idea, how to prevent that as an esthetician? And then if that does happen, because, or why would it happen? Is it because of your skin? Is it because of the esthetician pulling the hair out the wrong way? And how do you take care of that?
Okay, so this answer is also going to explain the difference between sugaring and waxing. So,
Okay.
with sugaring, I am applying the sugar. Also, okay, I'll start from the beginning.
Okay.
Sugaring and waxing is very different in that sugaring, I use my hand, a gloved hand, of course. With waxing, I'm always going to use spatula or wax sticks to apply the wax and maybe flick to remove because I use hard wax. If I was using soft wax, I would put the strip down, pull to remove. With sugaring, I create a ball of paste. If I'm going to do a Brazilian, I might want like a golf ball size of paste. And I'm going to use my very hairy arm as an example. But all my arm hair is going this way. So I'm going to take my ball of sugar paste and I'm going to apply the opposite direction. This is very key, and this is why a lot of sugaring enthusiasts say that it works better for those with very sensitive skin, because what happens is that when I go to remove the sugar, I'm removing the hair out of the follicle in its natural direction. So there isn't going to be much disruption of what is called the hair bulge. That is very different. That's bulge, B-U-L-G-E. It's different from the hair bulb, B-U-L-B. And a lot of times, a lot of estheticians, waxers in particular, will talk about bulbs. Like when we pull a strip and we might show it on social media or whatever, and it's like, oh, look at all those bulbs. That's very, very different. So the hair bulge is actually where a lot of the stem cells, a lot of nutrients that support your hair growth and everything occur. In waxing, it's the opposite. So I'm going to apply in the direction of the hair growth, but pull opposite to remove the hair. Both methods are going to remove the hair. With the second method, there may be disruption to the hair bulge that causes some of those things that are within the bulge area to leak out into the follicle. That may be, and some people are more sensitive to it than others. So that may be why when people wax, they get extremely red, they get extremely irritated. It could just be because that area has now been, the contents of the bulge have now leaked into the follicle. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that or inherently wrong with that, but some people are more sensitive to it than others, which is why they can kind of feel more irritated if they get a wax versus when they get sugared. So that is kind of the application and the direction of the hair growth is very important with sugaring. Now, I could also, with sugar, I can honestly heat up the consistency more and use it more like a soft wax, but it's still not going to irritate as much as maybe a traditional wax or soft wax would, hard wax or soft wax. So with sugaring, honestly, you can do either direction, but if you want it to be done more cleanly with less irritation, and a higher chance of keeping the hair away a little bit longer, then you're going to do that opposite application removal with the direction of the follicle. The second part of your question about the ingrown. So you start off sugaring probably for like a year or two, it's going to be great. And a little bit different to Mahalia, where she just mentioned, like, if you're waxing, you want to come every 3 weeks for your first couple of appointments. With sugaring, you probably will stay like every 4 weeks, your first 3 appointments. After that third appointment, it could get to the 6-week mark and you might be like, well, it ain't really grown back yet. Like it slows down the hair because there was less trauma to the follicle. I think when trauma is introduced to the follicle, the skin is very smart, your follicles are very smart. And so it's just like, oh no, hair is missing. Like I need to put something else, like I need to hurry up and put something there.
Right.
The more you sugar, you kind of can't go as frequent. It really does thin your hair growth. So your hair is not necessarily coming back. It may or may not be coming back slower, but you notice a significant difference in the density of the hair that does grow back. So your hair can be coming back much thinner, or it appear to come back much thinner. For my people with a little wet and wavy in the pubic area. Now, the hair, if it's really, really thin and it can't break through, it's going to create an ingrown as well. So again, that's when that hydration and that exfoliation is really, really key to make sure the hair comes in. I have clients who maybe started sugaring with me last year, and at this, even in a year's time, at this juncture, they're like, I just come every 3 months. Like the hair be there, but it's not enough for people to really, really feel like anything is there. So there is some wonderful long-term benefits with sugaring, but the capability of ingrowns is still, you're just as likely to get them with waxing if you are not doing that proper aftercare.
Okay. Mahalia, I'm going to let you take this question from Kirsten Baptiste. Any specific advice for people who are acne prone or boil prone in the groin region, especially with waxing?
Yes.
Yeah. And does it happen with lasering too? So I'm curious.
I've seen like way less irritation with laser. That is like probably one of the lower maintenance hair removal methods, because it's not a lot of product, it's not really a lot of trauma, and it feels like a rubber band snapping on your skin. And it is a little bit more intense if they didn't get a close shave, because when you are doing laser hair removal, you do have to shave. So you may have a little bit of irritation from that, but once we get to the point where in about maybe 7 or 8 sessions, you basically stop seeing that hair growth, because you'll stop seeing the hair fall out after a few days once you have it done. So you'll experience less irritation, less maintenance in the long run overall. Now, for those people who may be acne prone or boil prone, keeping the area dry and allowing flow and breathing. So, we all see the little Instagram scrunchy buoy tights that are popular. Take them off. Get out. Get your little booty pics on Instagram and take them off. You want to use cotton. I mean, that dry wick fabric, it's great. It's innovative. It's new. However, having all of that friction, I mean, all our mamas told us, let her breathe.
Let your girlfriend breathe.
Let her breathe. It's there, cotton, get out the satin, get out the silk. All of those things apply. If you are keeping that area dry and taking care of it, you'll be good to go. Something that I recommend for people who may need a little bit more support with the dryness, you can go to your doctor and request something called Dry Sol. It's something I have seen doctors recommend for women who are bustier and may have a little bit of perspiration. So it's really good for that inner thigh area and your creases and folds, really, because it's usually where your thigh and your butt meet, where you're going to start seeing that. And, we've all heard of chub rub and all of those things. Keeping that area dry and clean, showering as soon as you can after working out, things like that. If you're taking care of yourself in that way, you'll start to see less and less. I also recommend, if you don't see that go away within a week, go to the doctor. Because I have a couple of clients, and it didn't happen when they were seeing me, but they were going to people who weren't telling them how to properly perform post-care. And some of them have had to go to the hospital to have these things cut out. One even ended up being septic because of an infection from one of those boils. So if it doesn't go away on its own in a week, please get to a doctor. So.
Which brings me to my next question. The germaphobe in me has another question. So with cleaning what is it called? It's not a wax pot. What is it called? Is it called that?
What to clean that wax pot?
All right, with cleaning that, even when you're waxing, because I'm gonna tell you what happened. I went to someone and they waxed my eyebrows, and because I guess either they didn't clean out the pot or whatever it was, I ended up with an infection right here, like big boil looking thing on my eyebrow. haven't had them wax since, but I'm just curious, like what that looks like between clients and even for sugaring, because I don't think you're using the same ball of sugar for each client, are you? We'll start with you, Hadia, with this question.
Yeah. So for sugar, I grab a sugar and I still use a spatula to pull my sugar. I don't do,
Mm-hmm.
some people like go in with their gloves and grab it. Like,
Yeah.
that just feels too messy to me. So I still use a spatula to use it. And then once a ball of sugar is done, that's it. It
Mm-hmm.
goes in the trash with my glove.
Mm-hmm.
When I pull my glove off. So sugaring is like very hygienic. Kind of like one use. And I don't necessarily, for most clients, I don't have to go back in and redo the sugar or grab a new ball of sugar to complete a service. I normally can just keep going the whole time. With waxing, I do clean my wax pots. I don't have to do it that frequently in terms of like completely emptying my wax pot, I use like an oil, heat that up, completely clean it. I'll go in with like a disinfectant as well, make it like new. But I don't really have to do that. Because it's heated up and because I'm constantly like using a new spatula every single time. There's no double dipping. There's none of that. And I go through wax pretty quickly anyway. So it's like the wax ain't been in there for the wax probably be in there for about 2 weeks. I don't know. Like the wax does not stay in the wax pot long. So it's not just like sitting. It doesn't have like the chances to be contaminated. Normally when I hear of things of like what you've experienced, unfortunately, that's usually a lack of hygiene on the esthetician's part.
Okay. Mahalia, how about you? What's your advice there?
Yes. So, like Hadia said, you want to be clean. The messiness leads to cross contamination, leads to problems. So, there are some things. First of all, if it looks like your waxer was finger painting with her pot, don't even take your pants off, just leave.
Or your shirt, though. You don't want her under your arms.
I won't tell anybody I won the lottery, but there will be signs. There will be signs you need to leave the waxer, because you'll see things like they'll drop something and you'll hear them pick it up. There'll be things like you don't see them get a new stick. When I set my wax up, I maybe pull 3 sets of gloves, because chances are I'm going to drop one. Chances are one of my hands I'm going to touch the wax a little bit early. I'm going to need to change things like that. So you do not double dip. Once it's been in the wax, it needs to go in the trash after they've touched the skin. Even if you have to get more wax, you get a new stick and then you get more wax. It's really being mindful of things like that. You want to change your linen if you use linen. I use disposable sheets in my wax room. So it'll be things like that you look for, and honestly, you probably want to smell the barbicide. You want to see the sanitation wipes close and things like that. But double dipping is cross contamination. It's a very, very big deal. So you want to make sure that none of that is taking place. And it is already an awkward position, but I encourage everyone to speak up, because this profession is not just beauty, it is healthcare. And because it is your health, please be an advocate for yourself and speak up. A great esthetician won't be offended. If she's offended or they're offended, it's time to go. So,
thank you. We got some good questions in the comments. Terrence said, I want to be smooth, shoulders to toes. He wants to know, is Nair known to cause ingrowns?
You know what? I have a TikTok right now because I didn't want to wait for my waxer at work, and I'm a busty gal. So anatomy wise, it's not possible for me to wax my own underarms. Now, what Nair did cause was second-degree burns under my arms, but no smell. But it's not worth the burn. Okay.
The room has a question. How did it cause second-degree burns?
Well,
when I say the room, that's me.
Well, how Hadia was talking about that over exfoliation. I may or may not be heavy-handed. So I decided to over exfoliate. And when I tell you, my underarm was lit up like the 4th of July as soon as I applied one, but it was like, here now, the hair gotta go. So I kind of was like, got to see it through. And yeah, that's what I got.
Yep. This is what
So
not to do. This is what not to do.
back away from the nair.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I saw another question about Nair. Let me see. Let me see.
What causes a random cyst? That one.
Yes. What causes that random cyst down there, and why won't it pop? But should you be popping it? Hadiya will. Oh, that was like nope. But what causes it though?
So, these random cysts or like boils happen frequently. I notice
Mhm.
clients who come to my appointment wearing that thong. Mahalia already talked about wearing cotton, but
Yeah.
don't come to your appointments wearing thongs, G-strings, tight leggings, none of that. We
Yes.
want to not exactly bend it over, but let that breathe. Okay. Sexy Red said it best. Okay. So you want to, I tell all my clients literally like wear boxer briefs. They make like the boxer brief cuts
Mhm.
for women. It's not a boy short,
Mhm.
not a boy short. Boy shorts, some of us fatter than others in that area, the boy shorts are just going to eat that up. You don't want that. You want a boxer brief because it's not going to create any friction in that area. Those cysts and those boils are a result of friction and sweat. So that's why cotton's very important. That's why you don't want to wear the thongs, anything that's going to like literally sit. And a lot of women, honestly, I see them on a day-to-day basis are wearing underwear that do not fit them to begin with. So you're already starting, you're already chafing. You're creating chafing basically. So you want to keep everything very breathable and you don't want to create any friction. That cyst in those boils is really friction and sweat that cause it. If it's not a waxing service or sugaring service that you've gotten, you more than likely will get it as a result of going to the gym and not immediately removing your workout clothing and showering. That's probably the second highest way I see people get those. It has happened to me one time. You go to the gym, you come home, ooh, I'm tired as hell from that workout. You don't immediately hop in the shower. And it happened to me recently. And I was like, oh my God, I waited an extra hour. I should have just came home and showered. But the way that you get rid of those is that you would apply a warm compress to the area. It generally will go away in about 3 or 4 days. If it has not gone away after about a week, similar to what Mahalia spoke on earlier, you want to see your doctor.
Okay. Mahalia, I have a question for you from Dr. Carrie Graham. Can you address home waxing and the aftercare with that? Or do you suggest doing it at home? Or should we leave it to the professionals?
You know, Black people. I have been seeing lots of do-it-yourself things online, and it's become popular. I think the pandemic didn't help. You know,
we had no choice.
We had no choice. Innovation, experimentation, all of it lived. I mean, it had to be at home with us because we were at home. So for those people who have had a handle on it, I understand. I'm not going to just completely advise against it because I understand. That's how I was led to the Nair path. However, even though it is just you want to practice all hygiene. You want to use new gloves. You want to clean your pot. You want to properly cleanse your tools, all of the things, because if an infection lives on something, you know, you can give it back to yourself. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do anything that is going to put yourself at risk. I have also seen lots of, as Hadiya said, you have sugar, lemon juice, and what? Water? That's the third one. That's the third ingredient. Don't make it at home. Just go on and buy the paste. No more Madam CJ Walker. Okay, we're not doing nothing on the stove. Okay, just go get the paste yourself. But when it is a product that someone has already done all the testing for, they've controlled it, they've tested it in the packaging. I see lots of packages at home, but we don't see all the mold that grows and things like that because even though it may be natural and it may not necessarily need preservatives, it's not being properly stored and
Okay.
packaged. So you want to be very careful there. So if you are doing it at home, lots and lots of research, lots and lots of practice, and please, for the first time, just do it with someone. Hopefully my
Mhm.
cousin's not watching because she definitely we were in aesthetic school during the pandemic, and you know, even though she's had children natural, something about removing that labia strip by herself didn't work
Uh,
out. She had to call a partner and help her. So just be
yeah.
prepared for whatever you're getting yourself into if you're doing
Okay.
it at
Well, what about like even with, I know there's some products that you can purchase and say for facial, like removing hair off your face, whether, some the mustache or, the eyebrows, those little pesky hairs you get when you are entering menopause. Or like, whatever it is, or even men want to, if they want to remove their facial hair. Do you suggest doing those products at home, or do you suggest going to a professional?
I do recommend a professional
Okay.
as often
Okay.
as possible, but I do recognize that access is a thing. You know, sometimes these are just not services that you have it in your budget for.
Okay.
However, sometimes there are certain times where aesthetic services can be part of like your HSA or even your
Oh.
insurance will cover, because confidence and mental health are
Mhm.
something that your insurance does cover. So some of these things that are cosmetic
Mhm.
can be medically necessary. Just look into it if you need to.
What? I
Yeah.
did not know. I'm gonna check my FSA, HSA, all the A's, all the things.
Things.
Let's see. We've got one person said you would have heard me scream all the way from Toronto last time I tried waxing myself, and I don't want
Just
you to feel
wait till
lonely.
y'all just wait till y'all find out how Mahalia be waxing people. Y'all would hear me scream too, all the way to wherever you are. She does this one strip waxing method. It would never be me. And I'm someone who has been waxing and sugaring for a very long time. She wouldn't get me. I tell her, right? I tell her all the time, you would literally see me leap off the table. I'd be levitating like the exorcist. No, thank you.
Do you guys, just real quick before we go, we have a couple more minutes. So guys, if you have any last questions, drop it in the chat. Can you show us what, I know we talked about it earlier, but can you show us what sugaring or sugar looks like? And do you have any wax on hand that you can show? Just that I know it's going to be hard to tell the difference since you're not actually
This
doing
is
it, but
awesome. So this is a full tub of what I use. I use this brand called Sweet and True. They're based here in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
And this is one I pulled out of the warmer. So when if I'm waxing someone, it's gotten a little cool because it's out of the warmer, but
Okay.
it just looks like this.
Okay.
And if I was sugaring someone, I'd pull a much larger
Mhm.
bit out of here and use my glove and just get to work on them.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do use a stick when I'm sugaring. If I'm like going for a cleanup, I will do a stick, a really, really thin layer and a strip. It'll be very similar to soft wax, but it
Mhm.
still doesn't pinch or sting that same way.
Okay. What you got over there, Mahalia? I'm
I'm
scared of you
pictured
now.
on
The
my
one
phone
strip.
So I was going to be able to show you guys one of my strips from my one strip Brazilian. Um, I learned it from a popular esthetician, the Waxing Queen. She tries all types of waxes, and her method it sounds like it's one pull,
Mhm.
but it's not. But if your client has been coming to you for a while, this is not a first time hair removal method. We will probably never see returning clients. But how you do it is you kind of like, it's kind of the horseshoe method. And so you go, instead of top down, you go bottom to the top. And you just come up, you move your hands, and you just keep ripping because you want to rip parallel and very hard, essentially. The more pressure that you place to stabilize and hold the skin taut, and then to fully extend. If you are an afraid waxer,
Mhm.
you are a painful waxer. So if you got that confidence and you just pull, then your client will be fine. I started using it for I have this one client. Anytime I'm trying a new wax or a new method, her appointment is the very first one I take. And I just tell her we're on this journey together. And
Yeah.
so she's such a good sport. And I think the very first time I waxed her, I pulled my strip and then I said, that didn't hurt. And she said, oh, you're a professional gaslighter. But she hasn't left me in 3 years. So I've seen the one strip is
Oh,
working.
my eyes were watering just listening to to you talking about that. I was like, "Ooh, I'm about to pass out." I can't even imagine.
So, yeah.
So, everybody in the chat, let me know if you are team sugaring or team waxing. I'm just curious, have they convinced you of which is the better option for you and your skin? But for my last question is, I ask this of every guest, and I'm going to start with you, Hadia. What feeds your soul?
Oh, that is such a great question. What feeds my soul? I really do have a passion for creativity and curiosity. I think this particular field that I have chosen, and this is like my third life. I'm a cat. I got like I don't know, like 6 more to go.
Yeah.
But I worked for a very long time. I worked in tech and I worked in marketing, and I absolutely love marketing. But I feel like working in beauty gives me access to be creative,
Mhm.
and I'm ever curious. I'm always going to get a client in here, like at least once a week, who has something that I've never seen before. And for me, I'm also currently pursuing my master's in skin biology and dermatological sciences at the University of Miami. So I'm like very, very committed to skin science in particular, and trying to find better solutions for our skin. Particularly got interested in this very randomly because I realized most skincare products that go to market are never once tested on Black skin, and we are absolutely not considered at all in the formulation process and the marketing process. We're
Right.
kind of honestly, for 90% of products on the market, we are an afterthought. And it's like, if Black people use it, that's great. That's an added value,
Right.
but we are not the intended audience. And so just a lot of information that's out there about us is just not fully accurate. Sometimes people hear like Black people can't wax or can't use soft wax. I've heard some really crazy stuff, and I just like to be able to inform people in like a very,
Mhm.
non-judgy, like very like homegirl type of way.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like being able to be creative in doing so, like running Glodega, I'm a business of one. I'm the CEO, the esthetician, the marketing person, the website designer, the janitor. I'm like, hey man, like that, the spectrum and living color. So I think like having that creative freedom is like something that's super, super important to me. And that's just something that feeds my soul. I think like, even though it can be seen as a luxury service, I think most of my clients, for them, this is not no luxury. It's like, no, I need
Yeah.
my skin fixed today. Whatever you got to do to get me right today. That's like, this ain't no luxury. This is a problem. So I think like having that relationship with my clients really, like, I don't know, it just does something for me. And then I also pick up these really random hobbies. Like my pandemic hobby was making incense. So like now that's something that I don't know. I have no explanation for that, but we don't
Please
want to mock
teach me. I love incense. Please teach me. That's great. What about you, Mahalia? What feeds your soul?
What feeds my soul is connection.
Mm.
Human connection, being with my friends, being with my family. As my cousin's cutting up in the chat right now, just having that human connection and that support. My father's funeral, the last thing I did before the COVID shutdown, and
Mhm.
I lived alone, so I was grieving by myself. And
Mhm.
after such a heavy loss, and not really valuing just how precious it was to see people and interact, like
Yeah.
now that's everything to me. To be able to meet with Black women and help them out, to meet with Black children, to meet with Black men and just Black people, and really be connected to us is to be rooted in myself. And when I can experience that, it changes everything for me, and it really does keep you going. Not every day is the best. Sometimes you don't leave feeling like the best esthetician, but
Yeah.
when you get that review, or I have a client who, I thought I was just helping her out. I just met her, and I've changed locations. I've been through a lot of transitions, and she stuck with me. And one day last year, she turned around and she said, when I met you, I didn't have the confidence to date because I didn't feel good about the way I looked, and you changed my life. And now I've met this man. And of course I boohoo cried because I always be starting crying. But then I saw her a few months ago, and she was just moving around, and we're just looking at each other, and I'm looking at her, and now we're doing the meme of just Spider-Man music. And she's getting married, and I'm going to come out of retirement, and I'm going to be her makeup artist next year. And she's like, I mean, you can't just be a guest, or you can work. It's up to you, but I want you to be my artist. And to see that come full circle, and to know that I was a part of that, and I chose this so I could connect with us. It's just like so fulfilling, and continuously feeds me. So yeah.
That's beautiful. I love both of your answers. Oh, y'all. Oh, now I feel like I can't choose. I'll have to do both sugaring and waxing. I see they're split in the chat though.
One thing I will say for people who are trying to decide which way you want to go, for so many new clients who come in and they think they want to do sugaring, but like they've never been waxed, period, or it's been quite some time. I always tell them to start with waxing, and then exactly 4 weeks later, come back and sugar, and then make your decision. Because if you come in with a full bush and I go to sugar, you gonna be like me, jumping off Mahalia's table with that one strip. It's the longer the hair is, the more it's going to pull. So it might feel a little bit more uncomfortable. Whereas if you're coming with a regular amount of hair, you can make a better decision. Be like, oh, that was easier, or it felt the same, or you can evaluate how the hair grows back from both services. So I tend to tell clients, like, listen, this is where you should start. We're going to do this one next time. And then from there, make your decision. But in the long term, personally, I feel like sugaring is great, because at this point, I'm also one of those people who like, I only have to do it once every 3 months. So, that's cool.
Mahalia's like, nope, waxing. I have enjoyed both of y'all so much. I want to thank you both for joining me on a Soulibration. This was a great versus. We could have done this during the pandemic. But everybody else, for more information on hair removal options, head over to blackdoctor.org and catch up on all of the articles over there. And as for me, I will see you guys next Wednesday for a Soulibration/birthday celebration, because next Wednesday is my birthday. Yes, I am a 9/11 baby. So we will have a celebration then. And also, as always, let me know if there's any topics you guys want to see covered on this show. But as for everybody else, and you too, have a soul-filled rest of the week, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.